A battle that changed everything. The sky was on fire. Captain Elias Kane ran through the ruins, his boots crunching over broken glass and alien metal. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burning fuel. Above him, ships roared past, dropping bolts of plasma that lit up the night like lightning. Every few seconds, the ground shook with another explosion. He had been in battles before, many battles, but this was worse. This was chaos. His unit was scattered. His comms were dead. And the enemy was everywhere. The Tzathar. Tall, armored, deadly. Their claws were as sharp as blades, and their weapons could burn through steel. Kane had fought them for years, and he knew one thing. They did not take prisoners. He ducked behind a wall as another blast tore the ground open where he had been standing. Shards of stone and metal flew past his face. His heart pounded. He took a breath and peered over the edge of the wall. Nothing but dust and fire. Then he heard it. A sound that did not belong on a battlefield. It was faint, almost lost, under the roar of engines and the screams of dying soldiers. A high, trembling cry, not the roar of an alien warrior, not the voice of a human soldier, a child. Kane froze for a moment. He told himself it was impossible. There were no children here, only soldiers and machines. But the sound came again, sharper this time, full of fear. He moved before his brain could stop him. Sprinting across the open ground, he followed the sound to a pile of rubble that had once been a building. The walls had caved in, the roof torn apart. Smoke poured from the cracks. He knelt down and pushed aside a twisted beam. There, half buried in the debris, was the smallest Tzathar he had ever seen. The alien child's skin was pale blue, its eyes huge and bright with terror. It was trapped, one leg pinned under a heavy block. Its chest rose and fell quickly, each breath a small gasp. Kane's instinct screamed at him. This was the enemy. But another part of him, deeper, older, didn't care. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly, though he knew it couldn't understand his words. He set his rifle down and began to pull at the debris. The child whimpered and flinched away, but Kane worked faster. One last shove, and the block rolled away. The child was free. The relief lasted less than a second. A flash of light caught his eye, a sniper's scope glinting in the distance. Kane looked down at the alien child, then back at the faint shimmer of the weapon's aim. He didn't think. He didn't plan. He just moved. He threw himself over the child, wrapping his arms around it. The plasma bolt hit him square in the back. Pain exploded through his body, hot and sharp, like fire crawling through his veins. He gasped. The air knocked from his lungs. But he held the child tighter, shielding it completely. The sniper fired again, but the shot went wide. Through the haze of pain, Kane heard shouting. Heavy footsteps. The ground shook. Shapes loomed above him, tall, armored Tzathar warriors. Of them roared, a sound that made the air tremble. Another knelt down, pulling the child gently from Kane's arms. The child clung to Kane for a second, making a strange, warbling sound. Kane tried to reach for his weapon, but his arm wouldn't move. Everything felt heavy. His vision blurred. He expected the Tzathar to finish him, to end it. Instead, two of them lifted him carefully, almost gently, while another kept speaking in a low, urgent tone to the child. Kane's last thought before the darkness took him was not about the war or his mission, or even his life. It was the sound of the alien child's voice, small and trembling, calling out for him as they carried him away. Captive, yet not. Kane woke to silence. No gunfire. Number. Explosions. No smell of smoke. For a moment, he wondered if he was dead. The air around him was cool and clean. smelling faintly of something sharp and sweet like crushed mint leaves and metal. He was lying on a smooth black surface that hung softly beneath him. Above him, the ceiling shimmered with faint shifting lights, like an ocean made of stars. This was no human place. He tried to sit up, but pain stabbed through his back. He winced and looked down. His armor was gone, replaced by a dark, skin-tight material that seemed to pulse faintly, like it was alive. A sound made him turn his head. One of them was standing by the wall. Tzathar, tall easily 7 feet. Its armor was a strange mix of bone and metal, curved like the ribs of some ancient creature. The warrior's eyes glowed faint yellow, fixed on him without blinking. Kane's instincts screamed, danger. But the alien didn't raise its weapon. Instead, it tilted its head slightly, as if studying him. Then, the door opened. She entered. Kane had seen many Tzathar in battle, but never one like her. She moved with the slow, deliberate grace of someone who feared nothing. Her armor was deep crimson, lined with jagged silver. A crest of black spines swept back from her head like a crown. Her eyes were a piercing, molten gold, bright, intelligent, and cold. And yet, there was something else in them. Recognition. She stopped a few feet from his bed, her gaze scanning him like she could see every bone, every thought. The silence between them was heavy, almost suffocating. "You live," she said at last. Her voice was low and resonant, carrying the weight of command. Kane didn't answer. He was too busy trying to figure out why he wasn't dead. "You are in my domain now, human," she continued. "No one here will harm you, unless I order it. Where's the kid?" Kane asked before he could stop himself. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but not in anger. "Safe, because of you." She stepped closer, her shadow falling over him. "Our laws are old, older than your people's first breath in the stars. When one shields the life of another, especially a child, they are bound. Their fate is claimed." Kane frowned. "Claimed? You are mine now," she said simply. "By blood bond, you saved my offspring. Your life belongs to my clan until your last breath." Kane let out a short, humorless laugh. "Sorry, lady, but I'm not anyone's." Before he could finish, the guard by the wall moved. A clawed hand reached into the air, and a thin blade of energy shimmered to life. The woman raised one hand without looking. The guard froze instantly. "You are alive because I say you are," she said, leaning in so close he could see faint lines of scars across her cheek. "You will speak with care, human." The words were a threat, but her tone was not hatred. Something stranger. She straightened and gestured toward the door. "Walk with me." Kane hesitated. His back still burned, but he swung his legs over the bed and stood. The guard's eyes followed him like a hawk. They stepped into a corridor, lined with alien carvings that pulsed faintly with blue light. Kane caught glimpses of other Tzathar. As they passed, some stared at him with curiosity, others with clear disgust. He heard words whispered behind him in their language, but couldn't understand. The woman led him to a wide, open chamber. At its center was the child alive, unhurt, sitting, cross-legged on a raised platform. When it saw Kane, its eyes lit up, and it made a soft, trilling sound. The woman's voice was almost unreadable when she said, "It speaks your name." Kane didn't even know it knew his name. He took a step closer, but the woman's next words stopped him cold. "The War Council will want to see you. Some will wish to honor you. Some will wish to kill you. All will want to use you." She turned her head slightly, golden eyes catching the light. "But I have claimed you first." The alien mother's demand. Kane had been in strange situations before hostage negotiations, undercover ops, even a prison riot on Titan Station, but nothing came close to sitting in an alien throne room while an enemy leader stared at him. Like she was deciding whether to crown him or skin him. The chamber was carved from a black stone that seemed to drink the light. Thin streams of blue fire ran in channels across the floor, casting ghostly shadows on the walls. At the far end, on a platform shaped like a jagged fang, Sereth the alien mother sat in a high-backed seat of bone and metal, her crimson armor caught. The light like blood on glass dot, the child he'd saved, sat beside her, swinging its small legs over the edge of the platform. It kept glancing at Kane, like it couldn't quite believe he was real. "You know our law now," Sereth said, her voice echoing across the chamber. "A protector of a child is claimed by that child's clan. It is a bond of blood. Break it, and your death will be slow." Kane crossed his arms. "What exactly does claimed mean?" "Because where I'm from, people don't own people." Her eyes narrowed, molten gold burning brighter. "Owned? No. Bound? Yes. You will live among us. You will eat our food, breathe our air, walk under our banners. And when the child calls for you, you will come." "And if I don't?" Kane asked. The guard behind him shifted, the sound of metal claws scraping stone. Sereth smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "And my people will learn what it is to hunt a human, slowly." Kane was about to tell her where she could shove her blood bond when the great doors slammed open. 3 more Tzathar entered, their armor darker, their eyes colder. A war. The markings of the war council. Asterisk. One of them stepped forward, speaking in their harsh, layered language. Kane couldn't understand the words, but he understood the tone discussed. Sarav's hand twitched on the armrest. She snapped back at them. In the same tongue, her voice low but dangerous. The child's ears flattened, as if sensing the tension. The counselor's gaze shifted to Kane. He didn't need a translator to know. The alien had just said something like this human should be executed. Sereth stood. She didn't shout. She didn't wave her arms. She simply stepped down from the platform until she was face to face with the counselor. "By the ancient bond," she said in perfect, accented English, "he is mine, and by my word, he will live." The counselor hissed something sharp and left. The others followed, their footsteps echoing like a threat. Kane exhaled slowly. "Not sure if I should thank you or run." Sereth didn't answer right away. She studied him, her expression unreadable. "You saved my child twice now," she said finally. "The first was on the battlefield. The second was just now, when you stood here and did not cower before the council." "That wasn't bravery," Kane said. "That was stubbornness." "Then perhaps stubbornness is the only thing humans." "And Tzathar share," she said, almost smiling. She turned back toward her throne, but stopped halfway. "There will be an assembly tomorrow. The war's direction may change because of you." Kane frowned. "I'm not here to be your propaganda." "Peace." Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. "No. You are here because the moment you shielded my child, you became something more dangerous than a soldier. You became a symbol, and symbols cannot be allowed to choose their own fate." Asterisk secrets in the enemy camp. Kane had been given a guest chamber, which was a polite way of saying fancy prison. The walls weren't bars. They were smooth, living stone, warm to the touch and pulsing faintly, like the heartbeat of some enormous creature. The door had no handle on the inside. A tray of food sat on a low table. The meat was pale and steaming. The drink, a silver-blue liquid that shimmered unnaturally. Kane didn't touch either. On too many battlefields, he'd learned the same truth. If you don't trust the people feeding you, don't eat. Outside the narrow slit of a window, he could see the alien city sprawling across the horizon. It wasn't like human cities, no straight streets, no square buildings. It was a twisting labyrinth of spires, bridges, and towers that looked like they'd been grown, not built. He wasn't staring at the view for beauty. He was scanning, counting patrols, measuring distances and noticing something strange. Down. In the courtyard, 2 Tzathar warriors stood in the shadow of an archway, speaking quickly in low voices. Their armor was marked with the dark crest of the War Council, the same people who'd wanted him dead. They glanced up at his window, just for a second. But it was long enough. Kane stepped back from the opening, heart thudding. He wasn't safe. Here, not from them. Maybe not even from Sereth. The door opened without warning. A figure slipped inside, not a guard, not a counselor. This Tzathar was smaller, hooded, and moved with the quickness of someone who didn't want to be seen. You should not stand so close to windows, the figure said in accented English. Kane didn't move. And you are? The hood tilted up just enough for him to see sharp features, eyes a muted violet. Definitely not a warrior. I am no one, they said, which is why I can speak to you without dying. Kane smirked faintly. That's comforting. The stranger stepped closer. There are those here who see you as a bridge between our people, between war and peace, and there are others who see me as a problem. Kane finished. The figure's voice dropped. Not a problem. A threat that must be removed before the assembly tomorrow. Kane felt his jaw tighten. Removed as in you will not see the second dawn, they said flatly. There is already a plan. You will be taken during the night. Kane's eyes flicked toward the door. Why tell me this? Because Sereth protects you. Now, but after the assembly, she may not be able to. The council moves faster than she thinks. The stranger reached into their cloak and pressed something into Kane's hand, a small, curved blade made of black metal, so cold it almost burned. When they come, you will need this, they whispered, before Kane could ask anything else. The stranger was gone, vanishing into the shadows like smoke. He looked down at the blade. It was light, almost weightless, but the edge was so sharp it made the air around it hum. Somewhere in the distance, a low horn sounded a deep, resonating note that carried through the stone walls. Kane didn't know what it meant, but the hair on the back of his neck rose. He looked at the locked door, at the window, at the alien city crawling with enemies. And for the first time since the battlefield, he thought, tonight, someone's going to try to kill me. Asterisk the assassin's strike. City had gone quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, this was the heavy, loaded silence that comes right before a predator pounces. Kane sat in the corner of his chamber, back to the wall, blade in his hand. The alien weapon was so sharp, he could feel it cut the air when he shifted his grip. The hooded stranger's warning replayed in his mind on a loop. They will come during the night, somewhere far off. A faint hum vibrated through the floor. At first, he thought it was machinery. Then it changed pitch lower, closer. A vibration in the walls. Movement. Kane's eyes narrowed. The door was still sealed. No footsteps in the hall. Which meant he turned just as a section of the wall melted. The black stone didn't crumble. It slid away like liquid, forming a hole just large enough for a figure to slip through. The assassin stepped in without a sound. The Tzathar's armor was a dull, bone gray, absorbing the faint light. No crest, no clan markings, perfect deniability. In its hand was a weapon shaped like a crescent, glowing faint green at the edge. Kane didn't move. He let the alien come closer, let it believe he was asleep against the wall. When it was close enough to strike, Kane exploded upward. The first slash of his blade cut across the alien's forearm, making it drop its weapon. The assassin hissed and lunged, claws flashing. Kane ducked, driving the black metal knife upward into its side. It didn't fall. Instead, the alien slammed him into the wall hard enough to make his vision blur. The blade stayed in its body, humming against bone. Kane shoved himself away, snatching the assassin's fallen weapon. That's when he heard it. A small voice, high-pitched, trembling. The child. Kane's heart dropped. He looked toward the door, just in time to see a second assassin slip in through. A different wall panel, carrying the child in its arms. The little one kicked and clawed, but the alien held tight. The first assassin grinned a sharp, humorless expression and moved to block Kane's path. Kane didn't think. He hurled the stolen crescent weapon. It spun through the air like a disc, slamming into the second assassin's shoulder. The alien staggered, dropping the child. The kid scrambled toward Kane on all fours. The first assassin lunged to intercept, but Kane grabbed it by the throat and drove it backward into the wall. The black stone rippled around the impact like water. The assassin's claws raked across Kane's arm, slicing deep. Pain flared hot, but he held on, twisting until something in the alien's neck gave way with a sickening crack. The body slid to the floor. Kane turned, just in time to see the second assassin recovering, one arm hanging limp. It reached for the child again. Kane moved faster. He scooped up the alien's own weapon from the ground and flung himself forward, tackling the attacker before it could touch the kid. They crashed into the stone, and Kane drove the blade deep into its chest. The hum of the weapon turned into a sharp whine. A second later, the assassin's armor split open, spilling faintly glowing fluid onto the floor. Silence. Kane stayed still. For a moment, breathing hard. The child clung to him, trembling. Its eyes were wide, fixed on the bodies. He looked down at the kid. "You okay?" The little one made a soft sound, something between a chirp and a word. Kane didn't understand it, but the tone was clear. Gratitude. Before he could catch his breath, heavy footsteps pounded outside the door. The panel slid open, and Sereth stood there, flanked by 4 guards, her eyes blazing with molten fury. Looked at the dead assassins. Then at Kane, holding her child. Who sent them? She demanded. Kane didn't answer, because he already knew. The price of protection. Bodies of the assassins were still cooling when Sereth ordered the chamber sealed. Her guards moved with precise, silent efficiency, dragging the corpses away, scanning the walls for hidden breaches, posting sentries at every possible entrance. Kane noticed their weapons were drawn toward the corridor, not the room. Sereth wasn't worried about him. She was worried about what was coming from outside. She crossed the floor slowly, the child now safe in another guard's arms. Her golden eyes never left Kane's. "Tell me," she said, voice low but edged like a blade. "How many did you kill?" "2," Kane said. "Both tried to take the kid." She looked at the guards, who nodded confirmation. Then her gaze shifted toward the doorway, as if she were looking through walls and stone and straight into the heart of her city. "This was no random strike," she said. "No mercenary. No rival clan from the outer territories. This," she stepped closer, lowering her voice, "was the council." Kane wasn't surprised, but he kept his face still. "You're sure?" "They used council shadow soldiers," she said. "Only they have armor that bends light. Only they know the silent paths into my chambers." Kane leaned against the wall. "So the same people who run your war also want your kid dead?" Her jaw tightened. "Not my child. You." Kane's stomach turned cold. "You are a weapon, Kane," she continued. "Not of metal, of meaning. You risked yourself for my blood, and my people saw it. Some believe it proves peace is possible. The council believes it will make us weak." "And you?" Kane asked. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes, they softened, just for a second. "I believe symbols are dangerous, unless I hold them." He studied her for a moment. So I'm not a guest. I'm not even a prisoner. I'm leverage. You are both, she said bluntly. If I let you go, the council will paint me as soft. If I kill you, my own warriors will turn against me. So you stay, you live. You stand beside me tomorrow at the assembly, and you say nothing. Unless I tell you to speak. Kane gave a humorless laugh. You've got a lot of faith I'll just play along. You will, she said, because if you don't, the council will not kill you. They will kill the child, and they will make you. Watch. The words hit harder than a plasma bolt. Kane's hand tightened on the black metal blade, still at his side. He didn't trust Sereth, but he believed her. The guards began to clear the last of the mess. One of them hesitated, speaking in their language. Kane caught only one word he'd heard it on the battlefield before. It meant approaching or incoming. Sereth turned sharply. What is it? The guard replied quickly. Sarath's eyes narrowed. She looked back at Kane. The council is moving the assembly forward. Don, they mean to decide your fate before I can gather my allies. Kane straightened. And I'm guessing decide my fate is council speak. For kill me in a way that looks legal? Her silence was answer enough. Then I guess, Kane said, tucking the blade into his belt, we better make Dawn a lot harder for them. Sarath's gaze lingered on him, measuring him again, like she had the first time they met. Then she gave a short, sharp nod. You may be human, she said, but tomorrow you will stand as Tzathar. And Kane realized that whatever happened at Dawn, the price of protecting that child might be his soul. His choice Dawn came like a blade. The alien city was washed in pale blue light from the twin suns, and every spire and bridge seemed sharper, hungrier. From his position on the balcony outside the Grand Assembly Hall, Kane could see the gathering below hundreds of Tzathar warriors, their armor gleaming, banners snapping in the cold wind. Sereth stood beside him, her crimson armor polished, a war god's shine. The child was nowhere in sight, hidden away, she'd said, in case things turn. Kane knew what she really meant. In case you die. The hall was a vast, open arena with tiered seating that rose like the jaws of some colossal beast. At the far end sat the War Council, 13 members in black armor, each wearing a mask carved from bone. Their presence radiated authority, and something colder like they were carved from the same stone as the city itself. The crowd fell silent as Sereth and Kane stepped into the center. This assembly is called the Lead Counselor, said in their tongue, voice echoing through the chamber, to decide the fate of the human. Every eye turned to him. Kane could feel the weight of 1,000 stares, some curious, some hostile, a few almost hopeful. A counselor on the left rose. The human is dangerous. His act on the battlefield was a trick, meant to lure us into weakness. His death will show our enemies we cannot be manipulated. Another counselor stood. His act was not weakness, it was honor. To kill him now is to spit on the old laws. The debate erupted, their alien voices clashing like steel on steel. Kane caught only fragments, but the meaning was clear. Half. The room wanted his head. The other half saw him as a sign. Sereth stepped forward, raising one clawed hand. The noise died instantly. This human, she said, switching to English so he and the entire city could hear, saved my blood twice. He fought my enemies with no promise of reward. By the ancient bond, his life is mine to protect. The Lead Counselor leaned forward. And yet, he said, voice dripping contempt, if you keep him, you invite our enemies to see us as fragile. If you give him to us, you prove your loyalty to the council. Kane understood now. This wasn't about him. It was about her. The council wasn't just testing his worth. They were testing hers. He also understood something else. If he let Her fight this battle alone, she'd lose. And the child? The child wouldn't live to see the next sunrise. Kane stepped forward. Every guard in the room tensed, hands on weapons. You want to know what I am? He said, loud enough for the yell. Whole arena to hear. I'm a soldier. I bleed, I fight, and I bury friends just like you do. I didn't save that kid because of politics or laws. I saved them because war already takes too much from all of us. The council shifted, some visibly uneasy. Kane pressed on. You kill. Me. You prove the war can't end. You keep me. You prove that it can. So decide what's worth more to you, your pride or your future. The lead counselor's eyes narrowed behind the mask. And if we choose pride? Kane reached into his belt and pulled out the black metal blade the stranger had given him. He dropped it on the stone floor between them. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Then you'd better make sure I'm dead on the first try, he said. Because if I get back up, I'll finish what I started. For a long, breathless moment, no one moved. The crowd murmured, the sound growing louder, a ripple turning into a wave. Warriors in the stands began to pound their weapons against. The floor slow at first, then faster, until the whole chamber shook. The council was losing the room. Kane could see it. Seraph could see it. The lead counselor stood, clearly realizing the shift. The human will remain under Sarath's protection. His life is bound to hers. If one dies, both die. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarath's golden eyes flicked to Kane. Unreadable, but there was something like respect in them now. The assembly ended in chaos, some cheering, some shouting, some storming out Dot. As the guards escorted them away, Seraph leaned close enough for only him to hear. You've tied your life to mine, human, she said quietly. One day you may regret that. Kane smirked faintly. One day maybe, but not today. And as the crowd roared behind them, Kane realized the war might not be over, but for the first time it felt like it could be.